What's up, gentlemen? This is Rising Phoenix Podcast, podcast about how to rise up after your divorce. I'm your host, divorce coach Michael Rhodes. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the show. This is episode 137. This is going to be another solo one. I'm going to stick with this pattern that I've developed, and I'm going to cover my growth. I'm going to play two clips, and I'm going to read two journal entries to you that will hopefully shed some light on how much I've grown in the last 4.5 years. This certainly isn't to brag, because I still have a lot of work to do. I did not have the best day today, as a matter of fact. And I think it's certainly divorce related a little bit. It's life related. Life is fucking stressful. It's fucking stressful. And part of that stress is absolutely being a single father, even if it is only half the time. I make mistakes left and right. I definitely, my capacity to deal with stressful things sometimes is not where I would like it to be, but I think that anyone that is in a similar situation probably understands what the fuck I'm saying. This is really hard, and sometimes we get it wrong, and that's okay, as long as we try and stop and learn from it. And I guess I can cover that for a few minutes. That wasn't planned, but I'm just going to roll with it. So, I think that um, the stresses of work, the stresses of being a single dad, of being divorced, of sometimes being the sole support system in a way. I mean, it's not 100% accurate, but I will say there are moments where I feel like I am I'm always there for my children, and sometimes that feels like that takes a toll, whereas the other half doesn't have the same sort of um it feels to me like she has the same sort of sense of obligation to always be there. And maybe, I'm trying to make up for what occurred in a way, not to her, but to my kids. And maybe that's why I'm always there. But also I just fucking like being there. And so maybe, all of this sort of perfect storm, kind of led me to, a guy I snapped at my oldest daughter tonight. And I think it's a combination of all these things, and I wish I wouldn't have, in some ways. I mean, sometimes I think when I do sort of lose my cool, there's always this tendency to think I was completely like wrong and out of line and stuff. Now, I didn't slam the door a little bit, but nothing nothing like I'm capable. I'm pretty sure the F bomb was dropped. But there are sometimes I think when not that you need to be, there are sometimes when children do things to frustrate you, for sure, right? We can all agree on that one if you have kids. Um, but I also think it's up to me to handle it. And what I will say, or handle it in the most ideal way possible. Sometimes that's not possible, because I'm a human being and I got all these other things going on, and that makes it nearly impossible. But it's not impossible, and it's on me to behave and react in appropriate ways, and I don't always. I'm much better, I think, um, but I'm not perfect, and it's something that I continue to work on. But being mindful of, oh man, that probably wasn't how I wanted to handle it, is such a step in the right direction. So, um, Yeah, and so that's kind of where I'm at in terms of my mental state. I didn't have the best day, but I'm okay. Um, but I'm going to, I think, read to you first, and then I'll play some clips. So if you normally don't watch this on YouTube, this is not a ploy to get you to watch it on YouTube, but I think the clips that I'll play, and what I'll do is I'll have to edit it in later. It's just two clips. I can't remember the length. They're not that short. They're longer. So they're clips from my time in the Alpha Code. So that was roughly a year out from separation and still in a very emotional state. And they're longer videos. One's a 10-minute-ish video, one's about a 3-minute video. But I'm not going to play the entirety. I'm just going to play snippets. And I think one clip, I think the average 30 seconds is something of that nature. It might even be less for the one. I'm not sure. But anyway, it'll give you an idea of where I was and where I am. And also I'll sort of uh I'll explain a little bit in terms of and I'll probably stop here and listen to these clips myself, and then and talk about them. So, but first, I think and by the way, shout out to Albert. This idea came when we had a book club meeting last week on Thursday, and we didn't discuss any books. We just started talking, and Albert always asks great questions and has great insight. Again, shout out to Albert. And he sort of brought this idea to the forefront of, it would be good to show your progress, because I think perhaps that, and I think this also calls back a little bit to my point in the last episode with the last guest, Dr. I can't remember, was he a doctor? I think he was. How I mentioned about counting your blessings. I think because I do think it's important, and sometimes we get lost in where we're at and we forget where we came from. And so I think it is important to look back on occasion. That's why I think things like live videos. So what I did, and journaling too, and I got some journal entries I'm gonna read as well. But what I did was go back to the Alpha Code group that I'm still in. Thankfully, Justin has kept it open, and I can download my videos, all of them if I wanted. It would be a lot though, because you have to do 3 videos a week, I believe. It's a 12-week program, so do that math, and then we would do challenges like what's good about me. We would do like 3 videos in a row, or 3 days in a row, 1 video each day, talking about ourselves or different things, different challenges. What did you learn during this process, or just ways of interacting with folks. I'm grateful to Justin that he has let that stuff, let the group be open, and to those of us that have been through the program, and let it and not deleted any videos or anything. So anyway, but first let me read, and I do want to talk about some of the stuff that Albert and I talked about too, and Joe was in the meeting too. Shout out to Joe, around some of these topics and some of my views, I guess, or maybe even frustrations. So this is a journal. It's black. You can, again, if you go on YouTube, it's nothing special. Probably got it at like a Barnes and Nobles or some shit. This is an entry from April 4th of 2020, so less than a year from her departing. So she left in July of 2019. So this was I'm really fucking bad at math. So this was after she left, but not quite a year. And I wanted to actually back up real quick. Let's see if I can go back. So this is, I was going to see when did I start this, and here's an entry from March. I wasn't even going to read this one, but there's a bunch of stuff here, to-do list. But the first line is, I miss having a family, and sometimes that still rings true, for sure. Let's see. I wasn't planning on doing this, but in terms of like going back and looking, but I just wanted to see, did I have, or when did I start this? It looks like it would have been about March. Oh, what is this? This is from December, Christmas of 2019. Hmm. Um, yeah. It just says yesterday and this morning were wonderful. So that was the Christmas after she left. Um, anyway, I could go through and read a bunch of these, but this is from April 4th, 2020, like I said. And it says, I fucking hate you. I hope you get this virus and fucking die. You're a good for nothing whore. You're a shitty mother. And that's all. And then the next is the next day. Um, I I don't hate her anymore. I hate what she did. Um, but I don't hate her. I don't have this level of vitriol towards her anymore. I'm not saying I don't ever get angry at her or get angry about what occurred, but in general, this level of hate, rage, even I just don't have it anymore. I think what she did was wrong. I think what she did was stupid. I think what she did no good for nobody, including herself. But I don't I don't want her to die. That's my girl's mom, and I don't think that she's a bad person. I think she did a really bad fucking stupid fucking thing, but um I don't hate her. But I did in April of 2020. So and when I flipped through this, I was just looking for stuff that stood out. And I could, like I said, I could probably read through this and find a lot of shit that would be worth talking about. But I wanted to focus on anger because I I was there clearly, and you'll hear some more here. And so when I get um, disappointed, perhaps, or annoyed by guys that are only angry, I'm not coming from a place of not knowing what the fuck I'm talking about because I was there. So May 2nd of 2020. Fuck you for what you've done. I gave you everything. Fuck you. You destroyed me. You're nothing but a worthless whore. And whore is capitalized and scribbled. I'm not making this shit up. So if I'm telling you, if you want to go on YouTube, you're going to see it. Someday your children will know it as well. Um, Clearly very angry, right? I mean, and I think, some of that stuff that I used to hold on to so very tightly, like, your children will judge you and you're doing such a wrong thing and they're going to hate you. And I certainly don't wish that anymore. And I don't even think it will come true, if I'm being honest, because it's their mom. They're going to love her. And I think they probably unfortunately see parts of me that are very human parts, and I'm not apologetic. I mean, I wish I was perfect, right? But I'm sure they're going to see enough of me to be like, yeah, dad sometimes is an asshole, and I get it. Um, I don't think that I'm enough of an asshole to be left or to break up a family. Um, and yeah, is that frustrating in a way? Because I want them. This goes back to my ego, right? This goes back to episode whatever the fuck it was. It was 135, I think. Um, I want to be right. I want them to hate her. I want to be the better parent, the loved parent, the winner. But I just don't think I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't know that I want it to anyway, from a logical, non-egotistical type of viewpoint. It doesn't really matter. They're gonna love their mother because it's their mother. And coming from a person who doesn't have a good relationship with his mother, I would like my children to have a good relationship with their mother. Um, again, she's not a bad person. Honestly, she has done and did some really fucking shitty things. That is true. But she's not a bad person, and I don't hate her. But again, I want to emphasize that doesn't mean that I'm not angry at her at times, or that I have a desire to spend all my waking moments around her. That's definitely not the case. Um, I think the sad fact is those of us that were left and it wasn't our desire, is that we, for a very long time, and we try with anger, we try with sex with others and dating and any kind of distraction we can muster, focusing on their negative. We still love them. And I don't think that means, what it doesn't mean that we pine for them, that we, oh my God, I need you, I have to be with you, or I can't function, or give me a fucking break. I'm doing just fine without her, stressed and all that stuff, but I'm stressed with her. So um, I'm not saying this under the guise of, I need her back in my life. I do not. And sometimes I have to remind myself of why I shouldn't really love her. And again, it's not a longing type of love. It's not a sitting around and old school writing her name on my notebook, high school type of love. It's a woman that I built a life with and had children with and had great times with, and I will probably always love her in some kind of way. Uh, and I think there's power in being honest about that. But I will say to you that if you're not where I'm at in terms of 4.5 years later and therapy and coaches and programs and et cetera, then that sentence can be very triggering for you. And that's okay. And you don't even need to get to where I'm at. That's one of the struggles that I have, and Albert and I were talking a little bit about this sometimes, is to convey a message that's timely, but I also have to be true to myself. We're sort of talking about similar to this, but just bear with me here a second. The further out that I get, the more work that I do, the more that the things that someone like Sean Whalen said actually ring more true than they did when I was certainly in the beginning. And that should be true for you as well. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with everything, and I'm not saying I do agree with everything that he said, but there are certain elements of, you know what? Yep, it was all my fault. Fuck it. You know why that's more important than she's a whore and it's all her fault? There is no power. And he said this, I'll give the fucking guy credit. There's no power in that. There's no forward in that. There's only stuck. He didn't say all these things because he wasn't as eloquent as this fella here is. But, you know, there is no growth. There's no movement. There's no forward. There's only loss. There's only forfeit. There's only despair, defeat in that type of view. But it takes a while to get there with work. I think it was in this episode, or maybe there's another one I recorded, and I said I don't know how many episodes ago that it was getting harder to find new people. Boy, that wasn't true. I've been finding a lot of new people, and I've branched out. So I recently, I got two people, one person. So I got 3 interviews coming up. 2 of them are scheduled. Or is it 4? Most of them are scheduled. I got 1 more to schedule. 2 of those are with people that are not, surprisingly, from psychologytoday.com. Anyway, I can't remember if it was this last one or which interview, but anyway, actually, let me talk about. I'm getting off track here. I'm sorry. There is and I'm not going to edit this. I don't fucking have time for it. Ain't nobody got time for that. There's an interview that I did recently that I think was one of the best ones I've done in terms of the potential for what it could bring me and us. Just some of the things. This is a guy who went through divorce, who almost committed suicide, to his words, and really worked on himself. And he's a doctor, but he wasn't a psychologist. He wasn't a guy who if I remember correctly, and you'll hear it in the episode, he was a spinal surgeon. And then he went through a devastating divorce, and he developed, and then he really dove in and looked at mind body connection. And I know some of that shit is woo woo to y'all folks, but I'm telling you that this is the key to our healing. So anyway, so I'm really excited about that, and I'm completely lost in what the fuck I was talking about. So yeah, so I think messages are timely. I think that if we never um take some of these steps, I would say, then they win and we are defeated. But there are moments when you will be defeated, when you will be in despair or depression, and that's okay. It's the will and the fight to climb out. That's what's important. And it's not based on time, it's based on effort. Time obviously will help in terms of someone said it the other day, Adam Grant, and I really need to get that guy on the podcast. I swear to God. I'm really rambling a bit, but the major celebrity that I was talking with doesn't seem like that's going to happen, and that really fucking sucks. They stopped talking to me, so I don't know. I think that they had I think what I believe happened is they started a podcast. They were willing to talk to anybody in a way, and then it's gotten bigger, and so they don't need little old me. So anyway, it doesn't mean I've stopped, but reaching out to them, but it just seems like the fruit is dying on the vine. But anyway, it was Adam Grant. He said essentially, I think it was Adam Grant. Yeah, I love that guy. He said that it's not time that heals wounds. That's a fallacy. And I'm paraphrasing as I do. And I wholeheartedly believe that. It's not, it will help with pain reduction in terms of the further you get out from D-Day or ground zero, whatever the fuck you want to call it, then yes, your pain will lessen, but that doesn't mean you're healed. Healing is being triggered by your ex, like I was a little bit this weekend, and not reacting in a way that is similar to what I wrote here in May of 2020. I did not, and that to me is 100% growth. I mean, it was only a few days ago or a day ago, and here I am, and I'm saying I don't hate her, and she triggered me this weekend, and it's these moments that I feel that she is uh messing up, acting inappropriately, triggering me. I don't know what the fuck you want to call it. Those moments occur, and I don't give her the control over my life where I get pissed off for a day, a week, a month, what the fuck ever. Then I'm in control and I'm winning. And she still has to deal with the consequences of her action. And she may never she may never feel it. I don't know. I don't know what goes on in her head. She's very good at looking like she's happy all the time, which is obviously bullshit because nobody is happy all the time. But she sure plays that fucking card, and that's good. That's fine. Whatever. Maybe she is. Maybe she's the happiest fucking person on the planet. I don't know, and I don't really care because all I'm worried about is me and my growth. And so, um, on that note, I think what I'll do now is, and I want to get back to a little bit. I don't want to make this much longer, but I want to play the clip, and I think I'll play the more the less dramatic one, perhaps. Again, it's from the Alpha Code, and I believe, without looking, I believe this was from August of 2020, and It was no, I'm sorry. It was July of 2020, and I was just informed by my then 6-year-old that um, mommy has a boyfriend. So that's the context to this one. So check it out. Think about that's what we do, right? Man, we're logical. How can you not think about what went wrong and your part in it? And again, like I said the other night, the shit that was said at the end by her to justify what she was doing. How do you not take that to heart? You know, you spend 15 years with someone and they tell you that they don't love you and they probably never loved you. How do you not internalize that? I don't know. So yeah, clearly I was distraught. I did not mention in that clip. It was just a portion of that live video that I did about the boyfriend, but that was what triggered it. It was part of what triggered it. That was very difficult for me to hear. My 6-year-old told me that we were going to see a lot more of Mr. Scott because Mr. Scott was mommy's boyfriend. And I believe it wasn't too far after that, 3 months maybe. I don't think it made it much longer than that. Mr. Scott was no longer around. So I can't say that I didn't enjoy that. And I don't know the exact details. I know stuff that the kids tell me, but I promise you I do not ask. They like to volunteer stuff, and I don't know who broke it off, or I know that my little one didn't really care for Mr. Scott from what she said. He attempted to make a joke, or he hurt her feelings in some kind of way, and he tried to say that it was a joke. I don't know the exact details. She was 6 years old. So, and again, I don't ask, I don't pry. This is one of those, even then I had no interest in being involved in her drama. And be like, how could you let this guy say this? Or I wasn't doing any of that kind of shit. I had no interest in it. I knew that the less I engaged with her, then the better it was for my mental health. And so that's one of the lessons. Stop engaging. You can find reasons to engage. Obviously, you need to engage about the children and things that are of significance and who she's dating. And now, if this guy put his hands on my daughter, then there wouldn't even be a discussion. There would have just been an ass whooping, and then I probably would have got thrown in jail and all that kind of good stuff. But especially back then, clearly, if you uh, if you remember what I wrote in these journals, I was a very angry person. But anyway, so that was I was an emotional. I was a bit of a wreck at that point, and now I don't think she's dating anyone, but she might be. It's possible. I mean, it's always possible. And I'm not going to say that I wouldn't care at all. Of course, I would have some feelings to work through. But that's the beauty of the work, right? You realize, okay, where am I at? What am I feeling? How do I feel about this? What am I thinking? And then you process these things, you work through them. You do drop into your body to make sure that you're in your prefrontal cortex and you can think logically. Well, it's been almost 5 years. Who gives a fuck what she's doing with her body? She did what she wanted with it at the end of the marriage anyway. So, and we're not married. And if I was feeling a certain way, I would also look at my list of negatives that I have about her and say, oh, yeah, that's right. She lied. She cheated. She did this. She did that. Who gives a fuck what she's doing? And so, that's part of the work is taking the time to realize I'm feeling a certain way. What is it? And what do I do about it? This next clip is actually before. This might have been was probably still June or July of 2020. But it's a little bit more dramatic. It was one of the first time in the Alpha Code that I really kind of let my guard down and really just kind of let the tears flow. And so you're going to hear, I mean, you probably heard it, a little bit in the last one, but you're definitely going to hear a grown man cry in this one. So, yeah, check it out.
I was beside myself in anger and hurt and pain. It's like she just wants to keep fucking clawing away, even though she's the one who did it. You know, she's the one who lied and cheated and left, and she continues to fuck with me. And I just want her to go the fuck away. You know, I just want it all to go away. And there's a part of me that wonders, you know, I don't know. Um, so anyway, I felt like leaning in was a good thing because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, and I remember that video very distinctly. That doing that live video, I remember doing that. It like I said, it was the first time I had cried in front of other folks in the past for sure, but never like in a way, strange men. I think I was 2 weeks in, almost 3 weeks in at that point in the Alpha Code. So I didn't really know these folks all that well, but I just opened up and there was nothing but love and support. I went back and when I was searching for these videos, I really I came across all of my old videos and the comments, and what a great supportive place that was. Um, you know, I try not to have regrets, but we all do, and the regret of um the way my coaching program dissolved is definitely a regret. Even before that, the way that it evolved, I should have shut it down way before that I did, and I should have made different choices. Because I was trying to recreate what the Alpha Code did for me, and it was a powerful, amazing place, and I couldn't do it because I didn't have the capacity, and I relied on others to do it for me, and I'm not knocking them at all. I just I was trained. Um, you know, I don't forget this fact, but I think perhaps some of you might, or maybe you don't know. I'm pretty sure you do. I went to life coaching school. And I went through the Alpha Code, and so I went through programs, and I did many other things, and therapists and coaches, other coaches, and so I do have skills around this stuff, and I shouldn't have farmed it out to others. And again, not knocking them at all. They were willing and able in some ways, but in other ways not. And I should have just shut it down, honestly. Live and learn. We all have regrets, and that is certainly one of mine. So anyway, I think my message to you is that if you commit to growth, you will achieve it, but not in a perfect way, in a linear way, in a messy, you're gonna fuck up, shit's gonna go wrong kind of way. It's it's a part of life, and I wish that I could never fuck up again, but that's just not possible. And it's how do I deal with and address those fuck ups that really matters more than anything. Because we're never going to be perfect, gentlemen. We are never going to be perfect. But if we just keep trying, if we just keep getting the fuck back up and asking ourselves what went wrong and how can I do it differently, then we will win every fucking time. If we ignore our fault in this, if we blame and point fingers, not only do they win, but they're fucking right. They're right. At the end of the day, again, the further I get away from this, the closer I get to. Now, I'll never be like Sean Whalen because that's just not in my DNA. and I want to wrap up with this sort of thought process. But who besides me was able, obviously her, to satisfy or fulfill or whatever my wife? It was me. Now, obviously, there's nuance to that, and she didn't tell me or communication, but at the end of the day, it's on me. It falls on me. This is not something that if you are less than probably fucking, I don't know, 3 or 4 years out, you probably don't want to hear it in some ways, and you don't need to. This is a mindset that has been, and I'm not fully there, but it's been earned through work. I'm able to take acceptance and responsibility for my part in it and not feel like it was all my fault. Hopefully that makes some kind of fucking sense, because it sure does to me. But I want to close with this sort of thought. And again, this goes back to Albert. I was trying to make this point earlier, and I don't know that I did, but one of the reasons that Red Pill and certain authors and certain folks annoy me and frustrate me when they focus on women as being the part of the problem, or not part of the problem. They are part of the problem, of course. They're half, being the center of the problem, and posting about it and perpetuating it, especially in the Facebook group. It's really easy for us humans to find things to blame other than ourselves. And it becomes a mob mentality, especially in this Facebook group, when people start posting about how it's all women and it's their fault, and all I did was provide and a good home, and how could she, and hypergamy and all these kind of fucking cop outs, honestly. Is because that becomes, it perpetuates, it builds, it's like a fucking fungus or a virus, and it leads to you never taking responsibility. And so that's why I get so frustrated. And Albert was asking me, is it because you have daughters? Partially, sure. But I also don't like the easy fucking answer. And the easy answer is, it was all her fault, man. It wasn't my fault. She did it. She cheated. She lied. She whatever. She gaslit me. She did this. She did that. All those things that we see quite frequently, there obviously could be a grain of truth to these things, or more than a grain. But again, if it doesn't lead you to growth, if it doesn't lead you to forward, it's not helping anybody. It's keeping people stuck. And yes, it is a process to grow, but at no point in that process is that helping you take a step forward. At no point in the process does finger pointing allow you to move forward. I will say that if you feel like it is all your fault, completely, especially in the beginning, and you're just down on yourself, there is a piece of she contributed to that is very valuable. But that can be, again, it becomes a slippery slope. And if we start focusing on that, then others focus on that. And it's really easy, again, to point the finger rather than take responsibility. And so that's why I get so frustrated, because you're not helping the idea or the plan or the mission of growth. And it's really important to me. It's a value. So that's one of the things that I learned in the Alpha Code. Growth is a value of mine. I want to grow. I want to keep growing. I want to work. I want to achieve. I want to grow. And I think that's, next to making memories, I think that's the fucking purpose of life. I mean, I don't know any I'm not talking grand religious or whatever you're into. I don't give a fuck who you worship. But even if you do worship Buddha or Muhammad or Jesus, I still think there needs to be a purpose other than following them. That's my view. That's if you don't jive with that, that's cool. I don't care. But even if you are following them to eventually reach their kingdom or whatever, I think you still got to live along the way. And what better way than to make memories and grow as a human? So I think that's all I got. Hopefully this one is enlightening in some ways, or provides some insight, hope. I think at the end of the day, just trying to provide hope. And I know in the beginning that's hard to fucking come by, but from a guy who 4 years ago, almost shit, was calling his now ex-wife a fucking whore, then he hoped that she died from COVID, to a guy who I don't really wish her any real ill will. And by the way, I don't know if I've even talked about this. Everything is now final with the divorce, and she has, she took $68,000 from my retirement account, and I mean, I had to transfer it to her or whatever, and it's finalized, and it's not a fun feeling or event or a happening, but I had nothing I could do about it. So coming from a guy who, and part of that rant, or sorry, not rant, part of that live video, the second clip, it came about because I got an email that said I essentially had to give her $100,000. Obviously I did a little bit better than that, but not by much, I don't think. 68, and then would have been like 81,000 total. And so a little bit better, I guess. That's a significant chunk better. But I don't remember the details in terms of, that was just probably the first round of like negotiations. But anyway, coming from a guy who was very distraught by the goings-ons and the proceedings and the monies and the negotiations and all that stuff, to the person here sitting before you, or that you're listening to, that just doesn't want to let that define me. So if you feel like there is no hope, I promise you that there is. It takes hard, gut-wrenching work, but you can be a better man because of this. And that is all I got. And as always, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Since my separation in July of 2019, I have done an incredible amount of work on myself. I've had many different therapists, life coaches, and went through different programs. I've taken all that I've learned and put it into my own program called Forged by Fire. If you are interested in having me help you navigate your divorce, please hit my website, risingphoenixdivorcecoach.com. I look forward to working with you.